I am ready.
If you don't know what the qualifications are, then I can certainly run down that. It's basically if you live, work, or own property in Turnagain and you attend one meeting, and that's this meeting, then you're considered a member of Turnagain Community Council. We don't have a master list. It's just for voting purposes. The bar's pretty low, so. Okay, I'll give it about 1 more minute, then we'll get started.
Hi, Kathy. Quick audio check.
Hey, Sarah. Sounds good to me. You sound good to me. How do I sound?
Yep, good. I'm still
Okay.
trying to learn this new computer.
Okay, then. Oh, okay. Hey, Steve, you've got Christy as your moniker.
Well, I'll tell you, that's my wife's computer, and we're down in Long Beach, California, so we're doing the best we can, you know?
Okay, then. Hopefully it's nice weather down there.
Well, yeah.
Okay, then.
Oh, okay.
And no earthquakes or
No, nothing like
family
that.
living in San Diego felt the earthquake a couple weeks ago, or well, it wasn't less than a couple weeks ago. So
I don't think they felt anything like this in Long Beach, but
okay, I didn't know how far up it went. Okay, I am going to officially call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. So thank you so much, all of you who are attending, and hopefully we'll have some more people jump in. I'm Kathy Gleason. I'm currently serving as president of Turnagain Community Council, so welcome. So I would like to call this meeting to order. And just acknowledge board members or officers, board members who are with us today. Karen Pletnikoff is our vice president, and John Isaacs is one of our 2 at-large board members and also co-chair of the Land Use Committee, along with me. And I think those are, let's see, the only officers or board members that are on Zoom so far. So, I do want to let you know that Senator Matt Clayman will be joining us at 6:45. He's going to be catching a flight out of Juneau and into Anchorage shortly after that. So he asked if he could participate at 6:45. So we'll just, whenever he joins in, we'll just interrupt wherever we're at on the agenda and allow him to provide a legislative report. So with that caveat, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as was mailed out today?
So moved.
Thanks, John. Can I get a second?
my second.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. So the minutes from last month's April 3rd meeting were also sent out, the draft minutes by our secretary, Chris Havich. So could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, John.
Second.
Thank
Karen.
you. And is there any objection to approving the minutes? And we always give the caveat if after the fact we find little things to perhaps catch typos and so forth, clarification, then we can do that. But essentially we're approving them as presented. So is there any objection to approving the minutes? Okay, no objection. So then they are approved. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is announcements. And I've got a few of them, but I know there's at least one person that's joined us that would like to briefly, it's got to be brief, provide an announcement. So Justin, if you want to jump in at this point.
Okay, yes, hello, I'm Justin with West Anchorage High School. Kids call me Mr. Szymanski. Quick brief is this photo here of the old Romic ski hill, and got a new student government that was just elected last week, and their top priority is to see the ball rolling, what direction to make that park kind of look like this again with no rope tow involved, just another hill maybe you can sled on, ski, open it up. Came to our attention last year that it could possibly be a project. We just really want to move the direction with that project instead of all the other projects that we really wanted to do, and focus on funding and what we have to start doing to get that. And we have a lot of support with some people all over the community for it, and just want to let you know, and maybe get on your agenda to possibly do a presentation before your summer break.
And that'd be great, Justin. We meet again on, for the last meeting of the summer in June. I believe it's June 5th.
Thank you. We
So,
will do. I'll get in touch with you.
yeah, that would, yes, please do. Anybody have any quick questions for Justin?
If you
Do
do
you
go
guys
walk,
know,
sorry,
do you guys know the land ownership?
municipality.
Right.
And it butts up from, if you look at it, from the Berkowitz property, it's a private homeowner, all the way over to the highway, or the road all the way over, and then down to the water line where you could possibly walk over and go ice skating on the same day you went sledding. And if you do walk over there right now, take somebody else. There is some people living down there, a lot of burning. We had to go get some school stuff. They've been taking a lot of stuff from the school. So we've got some reports filed already, and the school district is doing everything they can. They got our carts and stuff, but they're on film trying to climb classes. But there's probably 6 to 8 inhabitants down there right now. But you can, if you just kind of peek over, you'll see the hill, you'll see the old ski runs. It's really neat. It's really cool.
Sandy, you've got a question?
I have a comment. It's a suggestion for Justin. And that is, Justin, offline, coordinate with Kathy about how much time you will have on the agenda, so you can tailor your presentation to the amount of time. Because sometimes there's conflicts with those things, but if you know how much time you've got, then you can nail it with your message. So that's my comment. And the only other would be that, yeah, I've been aware of that for a long time, that ski hill used to be there.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
so
Great.
good,
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, good luck on that.
Yeah, and it's going to be student ran. I'm going to just be there to help guide, and then students really want to run with this one. The president, Gemma McGrew, just got elected our senior class president for next year, and she lives right there in the neighborhood as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to those who are continuing to join us. So I have some announcements, and I'll just hopefully get them done before Matt Clayman joins us. What? Did somebody say something? No. Okay. I know this was announced at our April meeting, but just a reminder, this Saturday, May 3rd, from noon to 3 is the Anchorage Chamber Citywide Cleanup Kickoff Day down at the Margaret Egan Sullivan Park at Westchester Lagoon. So if anybody's willing to put on some rubber gloves and pick up trash and beautify, that would be awesome. And I don't know if we'll have our assembly representative or representatives join us later on, but which they'll probably bring up as well. But West Side Parks Cleanup Day, being sponsored by Assembly members Anna Brawley and Cameron Perez Verdia, is doing a Pick a Park Cleanup Day on Saturday morning, May 17th, from 9 to 10. You can pick up your supplies at Woodland Park, and then you can help clean up Woodland Park and Fish Creek Trail, or just head to wherever you want to pick up trash inside of a park or along a trail. So that would be a good civic thing to do. Next is just an announcement that Chugach Electric Association is having their annual meeting on Friday, May 30th. And They also are having elections. There's one board seat open. So they'll be having elections on for that. I believe there's not sure how many people are running for that, but let's see. 2 candidates. And then one was running by petitions. There's three people running for that one seat. And then there is some bylaw change, at least one bylaw change on the ballot as well. So if you have get your electricity from Chugach, your Chugach Electric, you can certainly be aware of that. And they provide food and have fun stuff for kids and so forth. Let's see if I cover. Oh, and May 16th is Bike to Work Day. So I know there's stations that'll be located for bikers to stop and get snacks along trails and in the morning, and then again during the afternoon commuter time period. I don't have specifics, but I'm sure if you Google that, you could find out more information. And then I'll just conclude the announcements that I have with kind of well, it is a sad note. So Tim Steele passed away on April 5th, and he was originally a school board member. That's how Turnagain folks that have been around for a while got to know him. He served on the school board, and then he ran for a seat on the assembly, and he served on the assembly. And he was always a great person and elected official to work with on things, and he supported our council, and he certainly has he had our backs when we were advocating for things, and we certainly appreciated him. He was a great guy, and he did pass away. So sad news when somebody that has done significant work within the community leaves us sooner than he should have. So one more chance. Does anybody else have any announcements since we've got a few more people?
Kathy?
Yes. Oh,
Morning,
yes.
Doug.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I don't know, this is the time to do a quick update on Forest Park Drive.
Well, that's under board report. So we'll cover that under board report.
Okay,
If that's okay, Marty.
sure. I may add in some things.
Okay. Yeah, Justin, you've got your hand raised. Oh,
Yeah, thanks.
no, you don't. Okay.
Oh no, I just had it. I just had it up. I put it down. Put it back down for you. Just wanted to say just real quick that I'm sure that the previous speaker was just alluding to this too, but just real happy to see that Greenway project that Donovan Camp with the municipality was promoting a couple of months ago at the Turnagain Community Council. Those sharrows got put in on Barber Street and on Forest Park Drive, and it's just great to see those go in, and they look real nice, and they did a real good job putting those down. So that's just my announcement. Just happy to see those happen.
Okay, thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. Okay, and I see that Matt Clayman, our senator,
Yeah, I see.
representing us, our district has joined us. So Matt,
I'm
if
not
you'd
sure,
like
but I
to-
think you cleaned that one.
Oh, who am I listening to here? Was that you, Matt, talking?
I'm talking now. Somebody else was
Now, if you
talking. I'm
want.
not sure who it was.
I think Sandy needs to mute.
Oh. Okay. Go ahead, Matt. Thank
All
you for
right, well,
joining.
thanks for letting me. I've actually getting on the plane this evening. I'll be in Anchorage this weekend. So thanks for letting me come on early. I probably, as most of you know, the big news in the Capitol has been continuing work on education funding for the public schools. House Bill 69 was passed by the House and Senate, and then the governor vetoed it. We met last week to try to override that veto. We need 40 votes to override. We only got 33 of the 33 and 27 against. So that override failed. And then a couple of days later, we had another education bill that in the Senate Finance Committee on the Senate floor, we made a number of modifications to try to add some policies in that the governor has been asking for, and a base student allocation increase of $700. That passed 17-3 in the House, and I think 32-8 in this. No, 31-8 in the. 17-3 in the Senate and 31-8 in the House. and it's gone to the governor's desk now. And if everybody that voted for the legislation if the governor vetoes, if everyone that voted for the legislation supports the legislation, there's enough votes to override. But those are all works in progress as we go forward here in Juneau. So education is getting a lot of attention, and then we're down to the last 20 days of the session, and budgets are moving forward. The operating budget is in the Senate Finance Committee now, and they issued their latest version, which reduces the dividend further from what the House had proposed of $1,400. There's education funding and public safety funding, but in large measure, the lower oil prices have had constraints on the budget in all areas, as well as on the capital budget. Both budgets are moving forward, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we will finish on schedule. So I would say that's the big pieces of legislative update to provide, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. Does anybody have questions for Senator Matt Clayman? I guess I'll just do a quick follow-up. Do you have a good sense that those who have voted for this new education bill would go ahead and support it through with regard to, a veto-proof status?
I'm optimistic, but I've certainly seen times when somebody voted for legislation and then they don't vote to override. So I guess the best I can say is cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
One small feature I know a lot of people ask about revenue measures, and part of the Senate Bill 50 or House Bill 57 that we passed this week, it actually, some of the education funding is contingent on passing a Senate Bill 113 that modifies internet taxes. So it's not a sales tax, but the companies that are out of state, classic example being Amazon and eBay, they have big presences out of state. A lot of things get sold in Alaska, but right now they don't pay a lot of corporate taxes because they don't have a lot of physical presence in Alaska. And so this would modernize the way we tax out of state businesses in Alaska and have less emphasis on do they have employees and property in Alaska, and look at actually the volume of sales. So it's modernizing part of existing tax code. And some of the education funding in the bill that we passed this week is dependent on passing that revenue measure.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, please. You've got your hand raised, and then Pat.
You're muted, Amanda.
Yes, thank you. I'm a Turnagain resident and an educator. And thank you so much, Senator Clayman, for coming and just giving us an update. Of course, we've all been watching the education bills very closely. And thanks for explaining the funding. So we'll stay posted on that to see if that passes. It sounds like a big part of this going through. Could you just remind me of what you think what of the governor's provisions made it into here? Because I recall that he has another education bill. So what do you feel that the House and Senate pulled over from that education bill for this one?
We pulled some, but not everything. We pulled in some improving the speed with which charter schools can get approved, and they can appeal decisions and get decisions from the from the State Board of Education and from their local school districts. We added some language about class size. We also created a task force to try to study education more. There were certain features that the governor was looking for that we did not include. So everything the governor wanted, he didn't get, but it's fair to say everything the House and Senate wanted, we didn't get either. The biggest part that the governor wanted was an open enrollment for charter schools that would allow open enrollment at a school outside one's home district. And that had a lot of resistance within the legislature. And so that was a big part the governor was asking for, and we didn't approve that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And Pat, go ahead.
My comment was had to do with that open enrollment. The problem I had with it, and I would object to that because, as you probably know, is that with open, only those people who are privileged enough to be able to move their kids around or have the money or the time to move them to a particular school would benefit from that. And that is not fair. That's not equal education for everybody. And everyone should have an equal opportunity to education, regardless of what their living conditions or their financial ability is. And I will strongly oppose anything that would limit that.
Well, I
Okay.
agree, and that reflects the decision made by the legislature.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Matt, since he's ready to get on a plane? Okay.
Senator Clayman, I asked in the chat if the modernization of the tax code you mentioned was the same as the HB 171, which related to credit cards. I thought.
I believe it's different because I believe the only legislation on modernizing the tax code was a Senate bill and not a House bill. And
Thanks.
Carolyn Hall is chatting
Oh,
and saying, yes, it's different.
Hey, Carolyn, I guess I'll ask you. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, and Sean, go ahead, and then I'll go ahead and let Carolyn in on this as well, since she's with us, and we might as well get our legislative report coordinated and taking place all at one time at our meeting. So Sean, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to make sure that I voiced my opinion regarding the and I realize that there's a vote and there's a lot of contention, but I truly believe in the free market and allowing someone to send their kid to a charter school if they want to. And it doesn't really matter if the charter school is based out of Anchorage or based out of Glen Allen or wherever it may be. I believe that I pay a lot of taxes and I should be able to determine myself where my kids go to school and even at this point, my grandkids, right? So please keep that in mind. I realize that there's probably not a vote tomorrow on this topic, but I wanted to make sure that you knew I live in Turnagain. You represent me as well as everyone else, and I wanted to make sure that you heard my voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I certainly will keep that in mind.
Okay, so our representative, Carolyn Hall, is with us. So welcome, Carolyn. And if you'd like to just provide a brief report and see if anybody has any questions for you as well on some of these actions taking place in Juneau.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. And hello, everybody. I'm really glad to be here. I'm sorry I missed you last month. So I don't want to repeat anything that the senator already shared. I have a written report, but we just finalized it earlier today. So I'll make sure if I'm able to technologically get it into the chat, I will. If not, Kathy, I'll send it your way via email. So mostly I was just going to update on some personal legislation in addition to what the senator already shared. And so that's HB 193, which is about unemployment benefits and paid parental leave. Right now, we're going to be hearing, I think it's our 4th hearing in Labor and Commerce tomorrow about the different policy levers that we can pull to implement, hopefully, a paid parental leave for Alaska families. So basically, we're hoping to use it as a recruiting and retainment tool to get young families to come to Alaska, to want to stay in Alaska, so that they can have the option as they're planning their families to take a paid parental leave when there is a new birth, or there's a new foster child in the family, or an adoption, or guardianship. So that's something that we've been working on for a while. We're hoping to get it to House Finance by the end of session so that we can continue tweaking it over the interim and have it ready to go for next session. Another bill that we have moving is HB 185. Our first hearing on that is next week, and it's for family planning and basically trying to expand the eligibility for families as they're planning to expand their families. So basically trying to make sure that we're limiting the amount of neonatal and post-neonatal fatalities and health effects that impact our lower income families. So that's it's called a SPA, estate planning amendment, to basically expand Medicaid to the 225% level of the poverty level. So that's let me just see if I covered everything there. Next, I co-sponsored House Bill 16, which is about campaign finance contribution limits. So that is almost or just about a mirror image of the ballot initiative that is underway and is likely to be on the next statewide election. We're trying to pass legislation that will mitigate the need for it to be on the ballot. So basically, it's in the Senate now, and it would limit contributions, campaign contributions, to $2,000 for individuals and $4,000 for groups per candidate each election cycle. There would also be a cap for political party contributions and a mandated inflation adjustment for every 10 years when it comes to increasing those campaign contribution limits, and that would start in 2031. Those are like the big things, personal legislation wise. We have a couple of other bills that we're working on, but that just aren't ready for prime time yet. But happy to answer any questions. Maybe I'll just kind of preemptively answer the HB 171 question that Karen put in the chat. HB 171 is in Labor and Commerce right now, and that is a committee that I co-chair with Representative Zach Fields. The last time we heard that bill was on April 9th, and basically what it is it's an act that is related to interchange fees. So whenever, like, for example, you go to the Rustic Goat and you're paying a credit card, you're paying your bill with your credit card, there are separate fees for your meal. And then there's fees for taxes, and then there's if there are taxes in your jurisdiction, and then there are fees for tips. So basically, these businesses are paying these credit card fees 3 times for these 3 separate transactions. So we're Representative Bill Elam is sponsoring this bill and working to see what can we do to help our small businesses basically not have to pay those interchange fees thrice. So hopefully that helps to answer your question there, Karen, but I'm happy to entertain any other questions as well.
Oh, great, Carolyn. Thank you. Anybody else have anything for Carolyn? Ask her about some of those other bills she brought up. I don't see any raised hands, so.
Oh, Amanda has one.
Oh, okay, Amanda, go ahead.
Thank you. And yeah, once again, I'm an educator in Turnagain, and I'm also a single mom, and we depend a lot on the PFDs for a little boost and college savings for my kiddos. And so especially seeing the large amounts of savings that ASD has, what are your thoughts on votes that affect the amount of the PFD, decreasing those, especially for those in Turnagain district that are from lower income families? You know, we have a lot of Samoan families, we have a lot of Asian immigrant families that really depend on that PFD. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. I would say overall, we as a state have a very serious issue when it comes to our spending and our revenue sources. And while the dividend, I know, is an incredibly important program to many Alaskans, as you just explained, but then also more in addition to our rural residents, we're in a situation where our state is overly reliant on 2 volatile revenue sources. So the amount of the dividend is going to fluctuate depending on what those other revenue sources are doing. And until we can come in and figure out a stable and diversified revenue picture for ourselves, I think the dividend is more than likely to always be in flux as far as one of the fiscal levers, are pulled when it comes to trying to figure out how to have a balanced budget every year.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we'll wrap this up and go ahead and move on. Safe
you.
travels, Matt, and thanks so much, Carolyn. We really appreciate all you're doing down in Juneau for us. Okay. So now I think we'll just bypass what's new in Turnagain since we're a little bit behind on our scheduling. But so we'll go ahead and go to executive, unless somebody really has something they want to share. Okay, I don't see anybody jumping in. So we'll go on to executive board report. Hopefully we'll get through these fairly quickly. So our next board meeting, or excuse me, our next community council meeting is June 5th, and that will be the last one unless we have any scheduled ones that we want to organize in the summertime, but we typically take July and August off and then meet again in September. And the board meets different times depending on everybody's schedule. So if you are interested in ever knowing when we meet, please feel free to contact me or any of the boards. You know, they're open to the public, but I doubt if you'd really want to sit in on them. They're kind of, you know, not too exciting. Treasurer's report is, oh, wait a minute. We did not approve the minutes, which I jumped over. So I
So
apologize.
Kathy, we did approve the minutes.
Oh, we did. Oh, that's right. Why didn't I check that off? Excuse me. Thank you, John. Yeah, you probably are the one that moved to approve. Okay, so treasurer's report. Our treasurer is unable to attend this evening, but we put it, normally we just give them quarterly, and last month was our quarterly time period, but we do have a little bit to just provide to the body. And one is that on April 9th, the Gleason, Dan and Cappy Gleason donated $500 to the Turnagain Community Council. We are not a nonprofit, so it's not tax deductible, but we still welcome any donations to our body. We don't have a lot of money and we don't spend a lot of money, but the checking account that we have for North Rim Bank charges us $5 every month because we don't have a $2,500 minimum in our checking account. Right now it's at $155.05. And let's see, is that right? I apologize. And with our donation, excuse me, it's $560.05. And our savings is $1,618.91. So the board talked about transferring, let's see, how much did we talk about transferring into $1,400 out of savings into checking? That still doesn't give us that $2,500 minimum, but if anybody else wants to, you know, throw some money our way, you know, it would get us towards that goal to avoid that $5 fee every month. So this isn't really anything that we're going to take a formal vote on unless the body wants us to do, as far as just juggling a little money. We're not expending it on anything. We would just transfer it. So does anybody have any questions, or would anybody have any issues with that board taking that action? I hear crickets. That means I assume that the body would be okay with the board taking that action with regard to just transferring some money from savings to checking. Going once, going twice. Okay, great. That'll be good. We'll take care of that. And the next is Federation of Community Council's delegate report, and I currently represent Turnagain on that body. And we did meet on April 16th and covered a lot of topics and ground. So we did elect new officers for the FCC board. talked about FCC bylaws being updated. And so a committee was formed, I'm not serving on it, to provide some recommendations for the full body to consider. They have upgraded the website. If you haven't been on it in a while, you might want to check it out. So it has a new design and I think a lot more functional. And then each community council that has a website as part of that, underneath that, but it's kind of up to us to decide what we would want on each of our own portion of the website under FCC umbrella. So the board is probably going to take the lead on that to have a discussion about what recommendations we might want to have. And if you've got any ideas, just let us know. And then let's see if I can read my writing. Oh, FCC staff is working with National Civic Council. I'm not sure exactly what that was, but they're wanting them to come up to, it's a national organization. I don't know anything about it. I hadn't ever heard of them, but their goal is just how to work with people to increase their ability to, interact and connect with others to try and achieve goals in neighborhoods and cities. And so they're advocating and trying to get them up here to come to Anchorage to have some kind of session where community councils and probably the general public could attend and benefit from that. So does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, then we will move on to Forest Park Drive surface rehabilitation / potential Esquire Drive traffic calming agenda item for next month. So Marnie, I know you wanted to bring up some things, so you have the floor.
Thanks, Kathy. I got a call from the Muni a couple days ago that they had selected a contractor to do the Forest Park Drive work, and it's Spurneck and Sons, who they like very well. They think it's a great contractor. So I just wanted everyone to know that it goes before the assembly on May 20th for approval, and then the city hopes to start that work in June. They're waiting until West High gets out on the 21st of May. So I think we have a good shot at actually seeing this come to fruition. The bid from Spurneck came in under the engineer's estimate, so there shouldn't be any controversy with the assembly. I think we're good, but that's what we know for now.
Okay, thank you, Marnie. And I happened to chat with Brooke Blessing, who works for the municipality, and she was a key partner in getting funding and design and the whole 9 yards for Forest Park Drive rehab. And that was one of our key safe routes to school projects that the council approved about, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. I've lost track of time, maybe even a little more than that. So everybody's excited about that. It's a narrow road, narrow right of ways, but I think the plan that we've come up with is a good one that will fit that road well, and that key access area to the West Romig area. So Brooke said that, there's going to be speed humps put on Forest Park Drive as part of that gateway program. I always remember for Greenway, neighborhood Greenway program to provide some traffic calming. And then the concern was that drivers may want to detour onto Esquire Drive to avoid one or two of those speed humps, depending on where they locate them. And so she said they're looking at maybe putting speed humps or something else on Esquire Drive as well, as that would be covered under the Forest Park Drive project. So that's FYI, and I'd encourage anybody to contact Blessing at the municipality if you want, any more detail than that. I think until they get that bid approved by the assembly, and then they'll you know, be looking at what kind of efforts they may do with regard to Esquire in addition to Forest Park Drive. So anybody have any questions or comments?
Just on that subject, right now, the design calls for 4 speed humps on Forest Park Drive, going from Northern Lights up to Hillcrest. So they're trying to capture the entire length. And my understanding was that they need to do a traffic study on Esquire first.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
could
the
be.
order of things there.
Yeah, and I think that would probably be still part of that whole project as far as under the umbrella of, hopefully under the umbrella of the funding they're getting for Forest Park. Would that be what you know, Marnie?
I wasn't aware of that. I thought that the
Well, maybe it is somebody else then. I could have misunderstood, but we did talk about having them on our June agenda so that they would, you know, by then they'd have the bid and just to be on
Yeah.
our agenda to provide a little more information about a timeline and so forth. So we'll invite them.
that would be
to-
good.
Yeah.
The speed humps, I know a lot of people don't like them, but the speed humps, I had asked if they could not extend them across into the wider, you know, the 4 or 5 foot shoulder, but they said, no, people just go around them. So the speed hump goes from side to side of the paved area.
Okay. Okay, moving on executive board report. So the tenure, this is just kind of a non-update. TCC provided information on the 10-year community council boundary proposed changes, and the Planning and Zoning Commission did have their public hearing March 10th. And I testified on behalf of the council, and we also submitted written comments on that. But to the best of my knowledge, it still has not gone before the assembly. So just kind of waiting for that next step to happen. And then assembly action AO 2025-31 Town Square Park Solar Access Protection. I believe it was back in December. It was on our agenda. Not to take any action, but just to be informed that historically in 1985, when Town Square was being built, that they put restrictions on the height of development of buildings infrastructure to the south on some of the lots to the south to protect sunlight to the degree that it could be on Town Square Park. A couple of years ago, one of the assembly members introduced a resolution to remove those height restrictions, and that ordinance passed. So then there was an ordinance that came up late last year / this year that would have been retroactive and taken away the height restrictions. Does that make sense? No, I don't think I said that right. Anyway, to go back to what had been in place, that there would be height restrictions on development on some of those lots. And so the promoters of that new action came to our council meeting and just wanted us to be informed. And so I'd been following it. TCC did not take any action, but something that I personally cared about. I did not represent TCC, but just so you know, I did testify in support of that ordinance, but it did fail. So I think it was 4-8 because they felt like they did not want to put any restrictions on some of the property owners to the detriment of others. And so they felt like they should all be treated equally, so they should all get restrictions or none of them. And that's the kind of thing where we, you know. Okay, so that's FYI, and let's see. Okay, so again, kind of a just again, TCC submitted comments, reviewed and comments on the Heritage Land Bank Program and 5-year plan. That is finally going to the assembly on May 20th, and AMAT's public participation plan is out for review and comments are due on May 16th. It's an 84-page document. I kind of reviewed it. It's pretty standard on how they spell out how they notice people, what the plan is all about, including work program and so forth, air quality conformity, all the kinds of things that would be included in what AMATS does in that arena. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me, or if you want to know more about the plan, just Google it, and there's an 84-page document that you could take a look at. Okay, so I think that's the end of executive board report. So we will move on to brief reports. Mayor's office, mayor's report. I don't believe do we have anybody from the mayor's office here? If not, we'll move on. And do we have any assembly representative, Anna or Cameron? I'm not
So
seeing.
Kathy, just to let you know, I ran into Anna at a assembly committee work session and she apologized that she would not be able to make the meeting tonight.
Okay, thank you. So no mayor's report, no assembly report. They didn't attend last month either. So, and we've had our legislative report. So, is there somebody representing the school board with us? I don't see anybody. Okay, so we'll move on to airport reports. If our representative, let's see. Oh, Lex. So Lex, the communications person, is so welcome, Lex. Thank you so much for joining us. So I would say that maybe you could just dig in and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just sent out our May community update. I hope you all received it. I just sent it only like a couple of hours ago. Sorry. Typically I'd have it to you guys sooner, but since it's the first of the month, it was harder to get to you guys on time. But I'm just going to kind of go down the list of like what we have going on at the airport. First off, I think probably the biggest thing we have going on this month is the Real ID implementation by TSA on May 7th, which is 1 week away. It's going to be in full effect. So if you come to the airport and you don't have a Real ID or some other valid federal form of ID, you're going to be turned away and won't be able to go through the TSA checkpoint. And so we're just trying to get the word out right now to the community. And I've been trying to spread the word that the deadline is coming up. And so I'm guilty of this too. I don't have a Real ID, but I do have a passport. And so there's ways to get around it. But the way you know if you have a Real ID is if you have a little star in the corner of your ID. So just encouraging people to go and, do the updates, go and talk to the DMV, figure out a way you can, make accommodations. And we just put out a press release on that this week, a couple days ago. And we also have a media event tomorrow. We have someone with the TSA coming to speak with media just about the implementation. So you'll probably see it on the news tomorrow, just about, all the important steps you can take to start, going in the right direction if you haven't gotten it yet, because we're 7 days out. The next thing is we're celebrating Aviation Appreciation Month. And so Governor Dunleavy just put out it's a proclamation, I believe. And it's just kind of highlighting Aviation Month for Alaskans and kind of the vital parts the Alaska International Airport System plays in getting people the places they need to go. So that was super awesome. And he just put that out today. The next thing is we have our ANC noise compatibility study. Right now we are launching the study, and it's meant to evaluate aircraft noise impacts and explore the strategies to reduce those effects on the surrounding community. This is a voluntary and federally funded noise study that's going underway right now. And we put out invitations to join the committee to the Turnagain Community Council. So you should have received yours. If you haven't, just let me know. But the first committee meeting is coming up, and this is open to the public. It's coming up on, I believe, May 20th. And so there's 2 different meetings that day. There's one starting at 10 a.m., goes from 10 to noon, and that's at the Flat Top Conference Room. So that's in our North Terminal. And the second one is later in the day. It's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and that's at the Spinard Recreation Center. So those are just open to the public if you want to come and participate and be a part of the process. We'd love to see you all there. Yeah, we also we have a noise page now on our website, and I think it's like www.anc noise study. But if you just go online, look up, ANC noise or part 150 noise study, you should be able to find it pretty easily. And so it has all of the information on there of like the process, the procedures, the steps. The next thing, one thing we didn't have updated last in the April community update was we didn't have the construction updates. Those are ready now and they've been finalized and they're updated on our website. And so some of the big improvements we're doing in 2025 this summer, we're doing a taxiway R North and U improvements, terminal water main upgrades, reconstruction of the North Terminal's North Apron and taxi lane, and then enhancements to taxi lanes E and M. And so these are just, normal projects. They're our ongoing effort to maintain safe, efficient, and modern infrastructure. There's only a certain amount of time that, asphalt and concrete, can last. And so it's just our standard procedure of, just updating and making sure our surfaces are safe for all of the planes that are coming through the airport. The next thing we have going on is we have airport police and fire drills this month, which is going to be conducted on JBear. So they'll be doing some training later in the month on May 29th and 31st. And so it should be like a really, really great activity for our firefighters to just, do a lot of training, but also, just like practice in real time and do fun exercises and just learn the real world emergencies. Next, we have Lake Hood. I just talked to Tim Coons, and he's kind of in charge of Lake Hood, and he said that they are gearing up to have float plane operations the first week of May. So in the next couple of days, if not maybe early next week, operations should be going on throughout the seaplane base, which is super awesome. And I think that those are the biggest updates and all the stuff we've got going on at the airport.
Okay, thank you, Lex. You covered a lot of ground. Let's see if we've got some questions or comments. Karen.
Thanks, Lex. I noticed a lot of detours right near the airport post office. Is that the work for the new aircraft control tower?
No, it's not. I believe what happened there is I think the gate was broken. I think somehow the gate got broken there. And well, there's actually two parts where they're having some like kind of road construction. The first part is there's a gate when you're going down Postmark Road. There's some kind of traffic congestion there, and then when you go farther down, there's more congestion, and which is near like the FedEx building. And so the first one is because of the gate. Something happened with the gate, and they're working on fixing the gate. The second part, I believe, that is just happening right now because FedEx is doing some construction, but I don't think it will last much longer. It's just for like a short period of time.
Okay, John or Marnie.
Thanks, Kathy.
Whichever is
And-
John, go ahead.
And I given Lex a list of questions that I run past the board, and Lex responded, thank you so much this afternoon. Just for some updates, they had to do with the proposed timing of the Echo GA parking area expansion and associated with the air traffic control relocation. And Lex said that the central region is designing the project. The project is in the design phase. There will be closures of Lakewood Drive, but duration and alternative access routes have not yet been finalized, and they'll provide more information when it's available. The second one is asked about the K-lot lease, and I think that is in our hands to contact the developer and ask some questions. I asked any new activities in the West Air Park cargo expansion, and they're in the process of evaluating design alternatives with different layouts, and we'll probably be notified when there's something to report on that. Also, that the airport has a meeting with Atlas on their proposed land lease, and there might be more information on that next week. There are going to be some security fence improvements along, I think it's the east side of the north-south runway. And that was bid in fall of last year. It looks like it'll happen probably this year. She mentioned the noise Part 150 study and that the master plan update, the airport layout plan is being prepared to FAA for submittal, and then the final report is expected this summer. So just kind of adding to what she reported on.
Okay.
Thanks for those updates, John, and for just adding on. I appreciate it.
Yep, gladly.
So John, can you forward that email to
Yes.
the board? and-
Probably should have included you.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And actually, it looks like Lex sent it out to you and and I'll forward it to the rest of the
Oh,
board.
okay. Okay, yeah, there was a period of time just gearing up for this. I didn't check my email anymore, so.
Oh no, you're good. I totally forgot that I sent it to you too, but I think I just probably pushed reply all, and you were probably already on the email.
Okay. Okay, so Sean, you've got your hand raised.
Hi, thank you, Kathy. This question is for Lex. Lex, under the previous airport management, which was Mr. Craig Campbell, he did a really good job of making sure that the semi trucks did not come down Northern Lights through the neighborhood. I realize that we can't keep the employees from driving down that road, but if we could at least encourage them to use use International rather than Northern Lights to leave. There are certain times of the day, like I believe it's 4:30 and 8:30. There is just a huge outflow from the airport. And so I really have two concerns. The first is to make sure that Mayor Bronson is still encouraging employees that are driving trucks, larger than the UPS and FedEx trucks, like semi trucks, to not drive down Northern Lights. It's just too dangerous for the kids. But then the second concern is this outflow coming from the airport down Northern Lights. And it's just, I've got to pull off of Arrow and straight up. Some of these guys are going 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour. They're going fast. So can you comment on those two topics, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that traffic flow is like kind of a common issue that comes up. And I think we try to do our best to encourage, especially when we're doing construction, like rerouting the different areas or different roads that those, vehicles take. And so I'm going to have to get back to you on specifics about what roads are just our vehicles use. But I will definitely make a note and email Dave and Terry, which is like our development manager, to work on making sure that they're using the appropriate roads. And I'll make sure that they know that that to try to not go down Northern Lights and instead encourage to use International Road. And I'll try to see what I can do to help that congestion and the traffic.
Lex, that would be awesome. And just so you know, it's not like a recent issue. It's like an issue that's been going on for years. So it's not like a construction issue. It's just when it seems like a lot of people, I don't know if they're FedEx or UPS employees, but very likely when they get off work and they just stream at 55 miles an hour, it's just dangerous. But if you could ask Mayor Bronson about those two things, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Do you have an email that I could get back to you on?
Sure.
Maybe.
It's shawn.williams.
Okay.
.ak@gmail.com. So shawn.williams.ak@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
you those your questions answered.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'll see what's going on there.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Lex, if you can CC Turnagain Community Council and my Kathy Gleason TCC, because that's the one I'm using for council right now with issues with the TCC email. That would be great because we'd love to have responses from that as well.
Perfect.
And I know you've got your hand raised, Pat, but just wanted to throw in, we have been assured by the airport representatives, personnel, that it's written and bringing up construction, but just like Sean said, that's not the only generator of traffic. But during construction, that any construction permit that's issued, that they require any kind of construction traffic use international. And so that's enforceable by the airport in terms of if it's a requirement to their permit to do work on the airport. So doesn't address all of the traffic issues like Sean was saying, but at least we have a commitment that that's taking place. So Pat, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, that is in the contracts, and I've been out there at that time of day. The construction stuff is not going past Lake Hood. And that bypass. But I also wanted you to know, Kathy, and recently when I made a turn onto West Northern Lights off of Minnesota, there is a 75% load limit on West Northern Lights from Minnesota West. There's a sign. There was a sign there last week.
Sorry, where's that at?
It's at Minnesota and Northern Lights.
And it says
75% of load for the big vehicles. Just so you're aware, because you remember we've always complained about they had taken the load limit signs off.
Oh yeah. I don't know if that seems
This was a new
vague
sign.
than-
This was a new sign. I was like surprised.
I wonder who installed that. Yeah, because the old signs was gross weight limit 10,000.
Right. No,
Now
this is a
for
75%. This is a 75% for the big, it's for the big trucks and for anything. And it may be down now, but it might have been just doing breakup. But they did put that at that was up there, and that was on the state portion of Northern Lights.
Right.
And it
Well,
was
and
actually started at Minnesota West. So that kept also reduced some of and the other traffic that Sean was mentioning. I was out there a couple, I didn't go out this last week, but I've been out in that area at that time of day. And a lot of it surprised me was going to and from Point Warrenzoff Lookout. It was tremendous amount of traffic, especially on a clear day, and it was going fast. And the airport actually posted they were pulling people over one night when I was out there for speeding between Lake Hood and Point Warrenzoff. Just so you're aware.
Yeah,
it wasn't just employees. This was community.
Okay.
All right, back to subjects.
Okay. And FYI, and it's under land use committee, but since we're talking about traffic and limits and so forth, Turnagain Community Council has long held the position that from Wisconsin west to Lake Hood Drive, it should be redesignated as a neighborhood collector rather than a minor arterial. And if it's officially reclassified in the official streets and highways plan, then it would be illegal for, heavy truck traffic. Then the signs could go up permanently saying restricted for 10,000 pound gross weight limit or whatever kind of signs they have now. but we can chat a little bit more about that when we get to the land use committee, because that would help too with regard to police enforcement. But yeah, it's not just the heavy trucks that, it's just lots of traffic going to the airport. And I personally noticed a lot of it speeds as well. So thank you. Thank you again, Lex. Does
Yeah.
anybody else have anything for Lex? Okay, look forward to those follow-up information, emails as well. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to old and new business. So, Karen, you're up first to chat with folks about 30th Avenue neighborhood impacts, associated with soccer game activity at Lloydsville Park. So Karen?
Yeah. The Lloydsville Park and soccer field right next to Turnagain Elementary has been really successful in the last few years in hosting a lot of summer camps for kids soccer, organized by Rush. But the parents don't park correctly on West 30th or even in the parking lot, causing a lot of congestion and dangerous traffic, as well as speeding down the road. And Rush has said that they try to encourage folks to park over at Turnagain Elementary, where there's a lot of space, but it doesn't seem to be working, at least in the last few years, well enough. And the impacts to the curbs and the school's land, where everybody's parking on the grass, causes a lot of dust in the area, because the grass isn't meant for parking, so it's not grass anymore, it's just dirt. At any rate, we're going to reach out to Rush, as we have over the last couple of years, to encourage them to work with the parents who use their service. In the past, we've also tried to get the park to put something in their permit to get Rush to do a better job of getting their parents to park correctly and drive safely. But we're just looking for any ideas or support from Turnagain Community Council to address that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions? Everybody knows where she's talking about. John, go ahead.
Hi, Kathy. Can the previous speaker share what Rush is? I'm sorry that I don't know that.
I think it's a company that runs kids soccer camps. The soccer club.
And are they the ones then that get the permit from the Parks Department to use Lloydsville Park for the
Yeah.
soccer? Okay, so it would be Rush that, yeah, we want to dialogue with.
You know, I better put my hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think that, you know, Kathy, you might have just hit the nail on the head. I mean, if they have to have a permit, there are rules, and we can ask the city to, you know, require that, you know, to get the permit. And that might be the easiest way to take care of this issue.
Yeah, we'd probably, you know, we'd have to come up with some specific things that we would want to have them agree to. And of course, we have the neighbors, and Karen lives on that street, so she's well aware of what's going on. You know, to maybe provide specifics to include in a
It-
permit.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that much. Just enforcing parallel parking and requiring people to park over at the schoolyard would do most of it.
Yeah,
but,
just take some pictures this summer and then, you know, talk to the director of parks and say, this is what we don't want any more of.
Sure. Thanks, Sean. I'd like to restate that we've talked to Rush for 3 summers in a row. We've sent that same letter to the Parks Department, and they haven't made any progress. I would hope that maybe something coming from TCC with the same types of stuff we've sent before might be more effective. And if anybody was interested, I would be happy to draft something to have the body consider for next for June, although that's rather late, but it's better than what we've been able to see as far as change goes.
Karen, do you know when the permit applications and deadlines and
Oh, I'm
approvals-
sure it's already happening because they've already signed up for the summer, but I still think it would be helpful to have something from someone other than just one household.
Well, and certainly if you can get your neighbors to, you know, sign if we would do a petition type thing, you know, have your neighbors sign it or sign on to a resolution that TCC passes, however we want to, you know, kind of deal with that. Pat, you've got your hand raised.
I was going to say, I was going to move that let's see, how can I think of this? I want to think about how to do it. Move that a letter be written to Parks regarding the parking problem. And that then you can add other signatures to it, but I would move that this come before the resolution. The resolution would come before us at the next meeting.
I would
Okay.
second that motion.
Okay. That down. Is there any discussion on the motion for Turnagain Community Council to draft a resolution that will come for the body at our June 5th meeting with regard to addressing problems with?
I'd be happy to draft something, Kathy, for the board's consideration or inclusion in June's meeting. Thanks so much, everyone.
Any other comments or input? Okay, then we'll go ahead and vote on that motion. So, all in favor, please. Well, why don't I just ask this? Is there any objection to the motion? Any objections at all? Okay, we'll just say passes with no objection. Easy way to do that. Okay, so that will be on our June 5th meeting. Okay, many thanks, Karen, for bringing that to our attention again, because we know we've heard about it in the past. Okay, the second old and new business item is approval consideration of Lineary Park Memorial Garden cleanup work party scheduled sometime in June. And before we have any kind of formal motion, I'll just give you a little background. So last Saturday on April 26th, the Anchorage West Little League did a cleanup of the ball fields down at Lineary Park. And I was contacted by Michael Balos, and he said that there's probably going to be a lot of kids and parents show up and there won't be that much work. So is there anything that they could do over across the way at the Memorial Garden because it's in pretty bad shape. And so there was too short a notice to really, bring it for the council and organize anything. So he just said, and we need somebody to give us some direction. So I said, I can meet you down there and do that. So I did, and did some work myself there for about 2.5 hours. And I don't know if it was that huge wet snow that we had October, right on the Halloween time period, or when it happened. But I mean, a lot of heavy tree branches were just down on the ground or horizontal. And I didn't even realize, since I hadn't gotten down there over the winter time, it was in that bad a shape. So Mike from West Little League and a few others helped out. He got a chainsaw out and he just started cutting, and I approved I told the Parks Department that this is what was going to be happening. They were fine with it. Taylor Keegan at Parks. And so did a lot of branch cutting, and they were willing to even work longer, but the chain on his chainsaw broke. So anyway, there was a big pile of debris. If anybody was down there and wondering what is that all about, that was work that was done last Saturday. And so so either West Little League or Parks communicated with Taylor again today. It'll be cleaned up soon. And but it only made a small dent in the help that's needed down there at Linnery Park. And the fencing around a couple of the trees are, been just kind of decimated. So moose have been able to go in there and chomp off branches. Lots of long grass that died, over the winter needs to be pulled. Just refreshed the path from the coastal trail and through the arbor and up to the front planting bed needs to have new bark mulch put on, et cetera, et cetera. So bottom line is, do we want to pass any kind of motion to make it official that we want to schedule a work party sometime in June, and then collaboration would need to be done with the Parks Department to pick a date? So anybody have any thoughts? Anybody want to help out if we have a work party?
Well, shoot, I so move we do that.
Okay, you move that TCC sponsors
the Linnery, the Memorial Garden cleanup at some point at some time in the. I'm not going to give you a date, but
well, no, we'd have to coordinate with Parks
Yeah.
to pick a date. Yeah.
This is something we've done before, and it's hard for me to get down, but this year I might be able to actually go down there and help. So I think we should do it. Surely, and maybe we can get more of the neighbors to participate too.
Yeah, that would be good.
And there's lots and lots of people. I wonder if we post, well,
Pat, let's get a second first to your motion. Does anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Angela?
Yeah.
And what is your last name?
Ferrari.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any thoughts on that idea, good, bad, or otherwise?
I think Pat has a great idea, and I didn't know you guys were doing that, or I myself would be volunteering. But I agree that we should probably get a flyer or let the rest of the neighborhood know.
And there's lots of people that use, I mean, I watch going past my house down to the park, down to the trail daily.
Yeah.
And if there's some place we can post something, as it goes down to the trail, they can maybe I'll stand out there and hand them a flyer. I don't know, but some way to get the rest of the neighbors involved.
Wave a big flag, and of course there's social media,
Yes.
that can perhaps generate some interest. Certainly we can, make sure that West Little League is notified, but I'm not sure that they would participate, but couldn't
Well,
hurt.
and there's a couple of master
be
gardeners
starting-
on my
They might be
street.
playing the same day that. we're
Right.
doing the
Well,
garden.
then their brothers and sisters who are supposed to be watching can help pull weeds.
And also just, I know in the past, parks have groups that notify them and say, we're open to doing some work at parks. Do you have any projects for us? And so, I could certainly see if, parks would have any groups that would like to participate.
Also, check with, what's the Anchorage Parks that's the Park Association. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Park Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, they typically don't do cleanups like this, but certainly they should be aware of it.
But they would know of, anyway, they can help get the word out.
Yeah.
You don't have to sponsor it.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to add? If not, is there any objection to Pat's motion that Turnagain Community Council sponsor a work party at Lenary Park Memorial Garden sometime in June with coordination with parks on date? Any objection? Okay, that passes with no objection. So thank you. I know Dan and I put a lot of hours in the last few years trying to do a good job, but last year we kind of dropped the ball. So it definitely needs a good neighborhood effort to get it spruced up again. Okay, moving on to, let me get my paperwork off of that, off the agenda. So the third item on the old and new business part of our meeting is doing CIP approval. So in March, I believe, we formed a committee of 4 to review the annual list that the city puts out on the capital improvement program project website for each community council. And we take a look at that and then we rank the projects, or we decide these certain ones should be deleted, certain ones should be not ranked for obvious reasons that we'll get into. And we've done this every year for many years. And our committee met. Let's see, Sarah, when did we meet? Remind me.
Oh gosh, I think it was Tuesday.
It was just a
Tuesday.
few days ago. Yes, it was Tuesday.
We like to work under pressure.
That's right. So Sarah, I'm going to turn this over to you and you can take the lead on kind of what we've done. And she's going to screen share the list of projects that the committee is recommending either, be ranked and in what order, deleted or not ranked.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Can you all see it? Should be a Word doc. Nothing too fancy.
And I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. So just to make clear, we're doing this year. So that's why it's called 2025. But it's none of these projects, our funding's already been set for capital improvement projects for this year. So it's for the next year. That's just how it works in the title of it.
Yeah, thank you. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. So I think the plan here is that so it was a small committee. It was myself, Sarah Haley, Kathy Gleason, Pat Redman, and Karen, I'm going to butcher your last name, Plenknoff. We all met on Tuesday and we took the Municipality of Anchorage list, which is a list that they've put together and posted on the website as suggestions. It's a carryover, typically year over year, of all the items that we had listed in the past that we have as a priority for capital improvement projects. But just like last year and the year before, the list is kind of messy. And we'll go through this in a minute because we have to delete a lot of things out of the Turnagain list that maybe are in Eagle River or Midtown or up on the upper hillside. So, you know, they do a good job. They try to do a good job, but there's sometimes some things that aren't even in our boundaries. So we
Well,
kind of
and
scrub
if I
that
may,
list.
Sarah, it happens every year.
It's
But I
every
think
year.
this year there's way more projects than ever before that are listed within our list,
Yeah.
but are nowhere near us within our boundaries. And I chatted with Chelsea at the Muni, who oversees this effort, and she said hopefully next year. And they've had numerous councils complain about the fact that there's so many that don't belong on their lists. She said hopefully by next year they'll clean it
Okay.
up. But
Good.
Sarah,
That
as you
it
said,
just
we have to
would
do
make it a
diligence.
little easier, but that's quite
Yeah.
all right. So what we did is we used our list from last year to compare the list the Muni had. And then we made sure that we had everything they had, and hopefully they had what we had. And then we came down to the actual ranking. And then we did make some changes this year over last year. And main part of that main reason is that a couple of ours were either completed or had funding to be completed. So we took Forest Park Drive off of the list, which is really exciting. Thanks to Marnie's all her hard work and the rest of the assembly for voting that in and getting the bond. And the other one that we deleted was, gosh,
The Amat's Fish Creek Trail to the ocean.
yep, thank you. And we had that on the list from last year. So what
And-
we'll do is,
Sorry, Sarah, I hate to get
no, go
interrupted,
ahead.
but that's
I'm just here to do the
clarification.
typing.
That just for clarification, and the reason, and it would be listed as we scroll down, is that the full municipal 9% of funding for the trail project was on this year's April bond, Parks and Rec bond, which passed. So there won't be any future times where they'll put more money for funding for that project. And then now it's up to get that 91% federal match. Have no idea where that's at, but as far as the Muni side of it, that we were told that should cover all of the Muni's obligations in terms of finances. So that's why we're recommending it be deleted from the list.
And I'm wondering, Kathy, if we should, you know, I'll just kind of scroll down and let folks see all of the things that we had deleted. The top two here under projects previously on the TCC list were the AMATs, the Forest Park Drive surface rehabilitation. We deleted the Point Warrensoff overlook because we believe it had been completed. The West High and Romick Middle Schools access and circulation, as Kathy puts really good notes in here. She says traffic circulation improvements within the school campus have addressed the problems. And then the last one that we deleted was the Wildwood Lane Forest Park Drive Trail, which we determined this project is the Safe Routes to School project and is not needed. And we'll go back up to the list and show you where we have that. But I just wanted to show everybody all of the projects that were listed here, that a lot of them were not in our boundaries. Now, Northern Lights Boulevard, the upgrade phase, what is that? 6? Postmark
4.
Drive to Nathaniel Court. Thank you, 4. I'm so bad. I tell people I don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't know Roman numerals. So, so we, you know, Kathy's talked about this in years past, that is not something that we are pursuing here. And actually we oppose as a community. And if, you know, of course, if you guys want to talk about it, we should absolutely open the floor, but they're talking about adding, you know, and widening West Northern Lights from Nathaniel Court to Postmark Drive, you know, turning lanes, suicide lane, sidewalks, this whole to-do thing. And we kind of laugh, like we have the coastal trail right next to it and there's nowhere to turn. So, we've never really thought that was needed, but then I just wanted to show everyone, I'm just going to scroll on, look at all the projects listed under Turnagain, and you can just see by looking at them, Cuddy Family Midtown Park, Delaney Park, we were all joking, lovely parks, lovely programs. We love Kincaid, but just not in our boundaries. So we wanted to really concentrate on what's in the boundaries. And so there were also 4 items on this year's list that we did not rank because they're very broad. Things like athletic field safety improvements, but the Muni didn't give any details. Multi-use trails and access, no details. Playground development, inclusive play, we love those things, but they didn't have any details. So we actually make a point that we're not ranking them. We're not deleting them, we just aren't ranking them. So bear with my scrolling. That sets the tone, that sets the stage for our list here. So we'll go through them, and Kathy, if you want to speak to some of them, I think probably for the best use of our time, maybe we'll go through them first and then flag any that stick out to you all. And if you want to discuss them further, or if you have really strong feelings about 1 or 2 or 3 of these, then let's talk them through. That was the whole goal here. The committee put it together, but the council here will be the one that votes on it. So number 1, always and forever, the erosion at Point Warrenzoff and the coastal trail. Now, this was actually not on the Muni's list. The Muni had number 16, which was the coastal trail shoreline erosion. And so you could say, well, is that what they meant? But after you read the details, this was a lot more broad, and we think this was more close to Linary Park. So we've had this on the list since I've been in the council, but knowing that number 1, which what did we say, Kathy, probably is like a $40 million project that will take airport, federal, state, all of the people to get involved.
Yeah, it was estimated at 40 million, probably at least 5+ years ago.
Okay.
So we know it's a lot higher now.
Yeah.
And it'll have to be a collaboration with the Corps of Engineers, the airport, because this is airport property we're talking about, and the municipality because of the coastal trail running through it. And over time, there's been, I don't know how many feet and yards that have eroded off that point already. Those of you who have lived here, you know, for more than just a few years know what we're talking about. And the coastal trail in that area has had to been relocated twice. In 95, sections of the coastal trail literally were going off the bluff, and it was real close to doing the same thing where they relocated that section right at the point last year. So this is a big deal. And it's a complicated deal. Funding is complicated, but Turnagain Community Council has held a pretty long time position to have that as if not number 1, then very close to the top as far as ranking, because we know how important it is.
Great. And number 2 is kind of another one that we've kept at the top. It's a little bit broad, but we're all right with broad because it's a basic Turnagain Arm traffic calming and safety improvements. That means that's our top priority, whether it's West Northern Lights, whether it's Forest Park Drive, but just kind of a broad, we want to ensure we've got safety and people slowing down on our streets. So I feel like number 3 is kind of where we get into, I don't want to say the projects that might happen, but we just know that 40 million for, you know, it's not going to happen alone on number 1. Number 2 is kind of an all encompassing. So number 3 is kind of where we get into where you can visualize where these projects will be if they get approved. So number 3, technically, Wisconsin Street Surface Rehab, Northern Lights Boulevard to Spenard Road. Number 4, Turnagain Street Upgrade. Now this one is going to be interesting, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but that's the one we've been talking about for a long time since I've been in the council, but that needs to be widened or have some pedestrian safety developments. It's just one of those ones where they have to take properties to do that. So the chances of it happening are going to be slim to none, most likely. And Kathy, you can speak to that here in a minute, but I want to run through the list real quick.
Yeah,
Number 5, West Northern Lights Trail Rehabilitation, and that's from Nathaniel Court over to Earthquake Park parking lot area. If you've been on your feet or on a bike or any wheeled things, it is extremely rooted and very difficult to navigate, and actually really wouldn't work very well in a wheelchair, and it's quite unpleasant on every other way to go. 6, Lakeshore Drive upgrade. This is over by Spinard Beach Park before you get onto airport property there on the north side of the lake. Kinnick Avenue surface rehab, Turnagain Parkway to McKinsey. 8, Laneri Park playground area improvements. 9, Milky Way Drive surface rehab, Arrow Avenue to Wisconsin. 10 is Hillcrest Drive sidewalk, West High Campus to Forest Park Drive. 11, Earthquake Park rehabilitation. So this is not quite the same as number 5, where we talk about the trail connector, but this would be the actual Earthquake Park area. Number 12, Turnagain Parkway surface rehab, Iliamna Avenue to Northern Lights Boulevard. Number 13, Spinard Beach Park amenities. Number 14, Delitka Park improvements. 15 is Esquire Drive sidewalk, Forest Park Drive to Hillcrest Drive. And 16 is the Coastal Trail shoreline erosion. This is down below the parking lot at Point Warrensoff and that area that is having a hard time with Mother Nature and some other things. And I have a map queued up, and so we can go through these. Kathy, if you want to pick some points, maybe we could talk a little bit about Turnagain Street and your conversations with the folks at the Muni. And then if anybody, we can open it up for suggestions on moving these numbers around.
Okay, yeah. Both Turnagain Street and Lakeshore Drive upgrades. They have, as Sarah mentioned, the pretty small right of ways. The width of the right of ways are not very big. And so both of them are neighborhood collectors, but even to develop at neighborhood collector standards, bike path on one side, sidewalk on the other, curb and drainage, lighting, you would be taking on both of these streets, you would be taking out, well, on Lakeshore Drive, half of the Spinard Beach Park parking lot and up to almost the front door of some of those condos to the north of the street. And so talking to folks from the Muni separately, independently, on both of those projects, they both said it'll never happen. It'll never happen. It would be way too expensive and impactful to do full takes to do a full neighborhood collector standard. So, so our discussion as a committee, even though we've kept these on our list, is focusing, sit down with Muni, focusing on what could be done just to improve pedestrian safety, because those are the kind of things that rose up to the top on both those streets, and be creative and not do a full upgrade, you might say, but work with the Muni on projects that maybe that would be reasonable and doable. So that's why we focus on pedestrian safety. Yep. And then in the detailed description, when we post all these, then there's room for comments, council comments, and we make that clear. But that's where what we're looking for on those two projects. I think
that's a great point, because really we've got to be able to meet on site and say to the municipality, what can you do then? Right? So if you can't do what we think needs to be done because you're telling us you're not going to take a property, and I respect that completely. If I lived there and owned a home there, that would be a hard no for me. But what could we do? There's got to be something inventive. People are redoing roads all over the nation that were built in, a long time ago, much older and narrower than ours, that they've made it work. Maybe it needs to be one way. I don't know. I'm making things up now. I should be careful. But there's got to be a way.
Future discussion.
Justin has his hand up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Hey, Sarah, thanks for talking about those bullet points there. Maybe, could it be something that maybe talking with Donovan Camp, like even Turnagain Boulevard could just get some speed bump treatment like they've done on Lois Drive, and maybe some, just some pavement markings along the lines of the Sharrows that are currently now in on Barber Street and on Forest Park Drive? just
Yeah, I
ideas
mean,
there on that.
those are all interesting. Neither street currently has any kind of curb, gutter, sidewalk defined. It's just road and then kind of gravelly lawn and
Yeah,
so
and just trying to walk along Turnagain Boulevard just to get to and from the Rustic Goat. It's like you have to walk single file and traffic just goes whizzing through there. Almost akin to what happens on Northern Lights, it's just these, it's just kind of a,
this is Turnagain Street, not Boulevard, since we have both.
excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. But we probably want to continue moving on here because we still have.
Yeah, I wanted to see if you could see the lack of any space or shoulder here.
Yeah, no shoulders.
There's
Nothing.
just zero space here, and it is very highly trafficked, so.
Yeah, and go
But
ahead
they've
and
gotta
then go
be-
down to Lakeshore because that was excellent during our committee that you did this where you could really see.
Yeah. Let's go, we'll go to Lake Shore. I just don't want to make anyone sick with my driving here. Yeah, and I think it was this one, Kathy, they said they'd have to take part of the parking lot at Spinard
probably
Beach
about
Park.
half of it. Yeah. You can see how close then the blue roofed just right across the street and the driveway. And if you would be close to their front door if it was a full width of a normal neighborhood collector's design standard. And
Right.
continue on, you can see how impactful it would be. There's just no room. So great visuals to really drive that home.
Okay, so that was number 4 and number 6. We're not ready to remove them from our list because we do believe with all of our heart, there's got to be something that the Muni could do to get inventive here on how we could make this work for folks, especially Lakeshore Drive. We do see a lot of folks around the lake walking their dogs, pushing strollers. We have a lot of
And
tourism.
visitor tourism, yeah.
Oh, Nick has his hand up. Sorry, Nick.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and add 2 things. One, I really appreciate this list. But I want to see it funded. And I just put a comment in the chat. I really think the coastal trail is an area-wide priority. That's what the Parks Foundation lists it as when they do they get capital money from the state government, improvements on the Moose Loop. And so I don't think it should be docked from our list necessarily because it's such a citywide asset. And I'm wondering too if it's kind of like a security thing for the airport. It's not just a recreational risk for that erosion. It's going to be at the road soon. So I just want to pass that on. Also, next year, you've seen the pathetic capital budget coming from our state. And I didn't hear the legislative update. I hope Senator Clayman mentioned something about revenue. But next year, there's likely going to be a statewide bond package. That's going to be a good way to put bigger ticket items that the state hasn't been able to fund in a long time in there. And so I would suggest if we have, a couple things that might be out of reach at the local level to see if we can get our legislative leaders to advocate to put our projects in that statewide bond list next year.
Oh, that's great to know. Now, just like we had a lot of projects on our list that weren't within our boundaries, other councils may have the coastal trail and erosion on theirs. I have no idea because I haven't looked at any other councils, but Nick, and it's good to see you and hear from you. Yeah, good point. I mean, that's going to be a massive project. So funding will probably have to come with the Corps involved. There will be federal funds for sure. And it'll have to be a good mix of the right funders to make that make something like that happen. So Sarah, why don't we go ahead and maybe we should ask, does anybody have any questions on any of the projects on the list 1 through 16 that we don't have to talk about ranking until maybe just if anybody has any questions about the proposals to for improvements on any of those other other.
Yeah, and I can pull up any of them on a map if you're not sure where Mackenzie Drive is, or I had to look up some of these myself. It's going to be easier if we kind of have an idea. Or maybe you live on Iliamna, so you're good on that one, but I'm happy to, you guys can help me find everything on the map.
So if you guys, since I can't see all the screen, which is fine, does anybody have any questions or comments about any of the other projects on the list that the committee is putting into the recommended column? I'm not seeing anybody. Okay, then now we should go ahead and say, do you have any thoughts on ranking? This is a committee recommendation. Anybody want to do any moving of pieces in the puzzle? Any thoughts? None? Okay, so I guess we should take that the committee did a pretty good job. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025 for 2026 capital improvement project combined ranking committee recommendations. And then we can go from there. So
Kathy,
motion?
I'll offer a motion to move forward on the 2025-26 capital improvements as ranked.
As ranked by committee. By committee recommendations.
By
Okay.
committee recommendations.
Okay, do I get a second?
I'll second, Kathy.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Okay, does anybody have any discussion on the motion to approve the list as presented by the committee? Again, just yell out since I'm not seeing everybody all at once here. Okay.
Is that Dan who's got his hand up?
Dan?
I'm just saying yes.
Oh, you're voting already.
Yeah.
He's ready to vote.
Okay, so all in favor, we can do a count on this one. All in favor, please raise your hands. And if everybody can help me out, I will raise mine. I'll just raise mine. So I don't have to look for my button.
I gotta figure out how to raise and share a screen.
You want to go ahead and remove the list so we can see
Sure.
everybody? That would be easier to count hands.
There we
Thank
go.
you,
Now I
Sarah.
can raise
Thank you
mine.
for screen sharing. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nick, are you voting?
Oh, I feel like I haven't participated enough to weigh in, but I support it. Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll take that as a yes vote. 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've got 13. And Gail, are you voting? Apparently not. Okay, so I've got 13 yes. Does anybody object to the list as presented? Everybody take your hands down that voted yes, please do that. I don't, so Sean and Amanda, if you want to remove your hands, then I believe that is 13-0, the motion passes. So thank you, everybody, and we have to get all of this submitted into the website, Turnagain website on CIP website under Turnagain's portion by May 20th. So the committee agreed that we'll work on, specific language to make sure it captures what we discussed, and we'll submit this list then. So thank you so much. Okay, write this down. Okay, so that's the end of our old and new business. And so now we've got a lengthy land use committee report. John will be taking the lead on this. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff covered. It's happening and continues to happen. So John, I will hand the floor off to you. And you're muted, so.
There we go. Try again.
Okay,
Fish,
thanks, John.
Fish Creek is up first. We had the open house by the project team in March, and they had a lot of detailed drawings there. They had unfortunately canceled our land use committee meeting just before that, so we didn't have a chance to talk to them, but they did want to reschedule, and we have been in discussion with them. Their project consultant, Matt Edge, has reached out to us about rescheduling and also asked us for any questions about the project. And for those who haven't looked at the website recently, I added in the chat the website under a 7:37 p.m. titled Resources, Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities. And anybody who is interested in this should really look at that website because they have a lot of details. I'm going to see if I can do a real quick screen share just to pull up one, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So can everybody see that?
Yes.
So this is an example of the layout of where they are proposing to relocate the coastal trail as part of the Fish Creek Trail. And it might be hard to see my cursor, but this is the old coastal trail. They're talking about a connection from Fish Creek Trail coming in. This is a new location of the coastal trail out into the mudflats between the tunnel and the Fish Creek Bridge. And this is the riprap 2-to-1 slope that they're going to protect the coastal trail with. So anyone who's interested should sort of take a look at these because there's a lot of detail there. You know, we have put together a list of questions that I've circulated to the board that sort of addresses the 3 maps they have and some of the design features. And I guess if people are interested, we could try to get those questions to folks. I can maybe drop them into the chat here in a minute. But I guess, Kathy, the next step is that we're trying to reschedule a specific time and location for the land use committee meeting, and we're looking at potentially 2 meetings. The first one would be to go over the questions on their design, and the second one might be a smaller group that would re-walk the trail route and perhaps ask some new questions. You know, as far as where we are in scheduling a meeting for the land use committee, where have we landed with that, Kathy?
Well, I haven't done anything about it. I know that I talked to Matt Edge, who's with CRW and part of the project team last week, and he liked the idea of doing an on-site walk as well, a follow-up on-site walk, and he thought, you know, and John, you and I talked sometime in June.
Okay.
Oh no, did I say May or June?
You
Maybe
said,
May.
I think May was what you had been
No, it
talking.
wasn't April anymore. So, because we were
Right.
running out of time. So I think, yeah, this month. It is
Right.
May 1st. Happy May Day, everybody. So sometime this month, to not only schedule a land use committee meeting, reschedule it, and then also it would probably be John and I who would do the walk. And I don't know, the railroad really restricts groups from walking up and down the railroad. I think it probably would be at max 10 people, but we can decide who would be a part of that secondary follow-up after we have a land use committee meeting. He expressed that he was very concerned that we put the notice out for the first meeting as an email from the TCC email list, which includes hundreds of people. And that's because it's been generated over decades, ever since email became a thing. How many years ago has that been? Not 2 decades, maybe. Well,
Keep going.
Anyway, and they didn't want like 100 people to show up at a land use committee meeting. And so we don't have a defined land use committee per se with names. So agreed to, we would send out, once we pick a date, and collaborate with the project team to pick a date, we would put out a notice but we would ask for an RSVP of anybody who actually would intend to come so that we'd have a much better feel of just how many people we were looking at and then what kind of venue we would be needing to accommodate that number. So it'd be kind of a more defined approach to that effort. So, so now would be the next step that would be to work with the project team to get a date picked, and then we would send out an email notice with an RSVP request.
And so Kathy, you would send it out and then we would get feedback from folks who wanted to attend, and then we would be able to pick the venue. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know,
Well, we'd pick the date with the project team first. We'd set the
Okay.
date and say, this is when we're going to meet RSVP.
okay. So people should expect to see that email. You know, what the project team has said is they're at about a 75% design of the project, and there's still room to make changes. And so I think we want to have some of our questions answered and see what changes we might want to recommend. I know there is potentially a lawsuit going on over the crossing of the Forest Park Drive portion of the trail at the McCary Estate, and we're going to pay attention to that. But maybe it's a good time just to see if anybody has any general questions about the Fish Creek project that we can try to answer.
So Sandy's got in the chat room, what happens to the existing trail? Torn out, still used somehow?
It is really unclear. That's part of the questions we have. If you take a look at their drawing, it is unclear whether it's going to be torn out. It's unclear whether they're going to backfill all the way back from the new trail to the existing trail. It's unclear if they're going to take down all of the trees. You know, those are some of the questions that we really want to ask them. It's a good example of a question to ask.
Hey, John,
Yep.
this is Dan. I talked to him quite a bit about the retaining wall around John Haxby's land in that area. This retaining wall will be at grade or the existing grade, right? The trail is going to be at the existing grade. They're not going to raise it or anything like that, or are they going to raise it just so they can shorten the retaining wall?
I'm going to see if I can quickly pull that up here while we're talking. I think what they're talking about, so let's see if I can go back to share screen. Hang on 1 minute. I'll do that. And again, these are some of the details that they have. So this is one where they show some retaining walls. Let's see if I can find the one that's
That's probably it, John, right
Okay,
there.
so that probably is it. So
Yeah.
so this is where John Haxby's house and deck is. This is where his current fence is, which is 2 feet or so, 3 feet into the railroad right away. They're talking about building it right below that, having a vertical retaining wall built here, and they move his fence back to the line. You know, how it's constructed, what it's constructed out of, how it's tied into the slope. Those are the sort of questions that I think we would ask. But you start looking at this material and it raises a lot of questions. And that's why we have 2.5 pages of questions.
Well, and oh, John, can you keep that up for one more second?
Sure,
Because
I'll go back. Hold on a sec.
I
Yeah.
wanted to say something about just because it's if you look to the, I don't even know what that strange, you can see the little figurines walking on the new trail, and then that kind of goes up. So you can see, well, if you see the dotted line, that's the undulating terrain elevations that go on from John Haxby's backyard, and then you can see it gently slopes down about a 45-degree angle. Then there's a little hump,
Right.
and then a little divot, and then there's the train tracks. And so it looks like, you know, they'll dig into that slope.
Yep.
And then they'll have some kind of upward to match up that slope beyond the trail footprint that then, you know, then goes over to the track. So, I mean, every part of this trail is going to be handled differently depending on what the existing conditions are in terms of yeah, land elevation and undulating and unevenness, because the trail needs to be pretty much level.
Yep. So again, if you start looking at the maps, a lot of questions come to mind. They have an area they show as their, zone of construction impact. How was that chosen? What are they going to do in it? How are they going to access this for construction equipment? So just a lot of questions that we really would like some answers to.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw.
I see something that looks like from a question from Nick. Are we awaiting on any more railroad decisions on the trail? I'm not sure where the railroad board is informally approving this, whether it has to go by their board or not. I mean, it seems like right now the railroad supports this trail, but we really don't have an idea of what the next steps are going to be in this. So that again is part of the question, is what happens next? Who has to approve it? What are the steps? What are the opportunities for public involvement? I see Sean has his hand up.
And Sandy has his hand up.
Okay, thanks for calling on me. I didn't want to yell point of order, but what crosses my mind is that I want to get to the mayor's housing strategy, and I know that we're on the first topic for this section. So I just wanted to bring that to our attention. Thank you.
Oh, great. We'll get to it. We'll get to it pretty quickly, but yeah, no, I will consolidate some of these others.
Yeah, and thank you, Sean, and I appreciate that, because it is a long list, and we can always rearrange that list if we need to. But these are the kind of things that, we'll be talking about at the land use committee. And so, once we get a date scheduled and we kick it out, RSVP, because there's going to be a lot to talk about. I don't even know how long the meeting's going to be. If it's 2 hours, we may need 2 of them. I mean, I think we'll want to go to every part of this trail to get much better feel for more detail.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kathy. It might actually be a separate meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see, Sandy, is your hand up?
It is. So I'll just be quick and throw the questions out. I don't necessarily need answers right now. The first one, back to the trail map you had up. The question is, has anyone ever raised whether the idea of whether or not the trail would be one way, using the old trail for
there's been no detail. And so, I mean, these are the sorts of things where I think people should start looking at those maps and that site on that website, start identifying some of those questions, and either send them to us or bring them to the land use committee meeting. There's a lot of questions that have not been answered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to jump in, because the reason why they are doing what they're doing, and when we first found out about this for the first year, almost 2 years, we had no idea they were going to relocate the coastal trail. That was something we just found out about a year ago, and still haven't gotten any detail on it. But what we were told once we found out about this new element of the northern section and where it connects with Fish Creek Trail or Coastal Trail is, they have to go out into the mud flats to make that connection, because the elevation, the slope was too steep for a switchback. And so they needed more space and more distance to make a switchback that is safer. And so I would be surprised if they would use the existing trail. I think they wouldn't want people to use the existing trail, so they'll probably rip it out, but that's speculation on my part.
That we don't know.
That's the whole reason why they came up with this idea of relocating the coastal trail out into the mud flats.
Yeah, it's just obviously that it's not clear, as John said. The 2 other quick points to make, John, in the vicinity where they're proposing to do a bunch of those cuts, build retaining walls, etc. One, to me, no-brainer question is, have they done any testing for Bootleggers Cove clay? Okay, because we all know what that gray clay does in
Don't
earthquakes.
know, and don't know if they have and when they're going to do it. So next question.
And then the other comment is, if they put in retaining walls, I would just strongly recommend that they be porous walls as opposed to solid walls. So any moisture coming out of the subsurface along those banks has a way to get out and doesn't push the wall over time. We've seen a lot of that in Anchorage over the years. We're smarter than that. So just porous retaining walls. And you know, there's examples we can point out that are.
And drainage in the retaining walls is one of our questions. So, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, so take a look at these and develop some more questions, and you know, we can either bring them to the land use committee meeting when we have it scheduled or get them to us.
Okay.
But just wanted to kind of provide a relatively quick update on that. The next one is the targeted review and the amendment of the 2020 comprehensive plan and 2040 land use plans. And these are two really important plans that drive zoning and other land use regulations. And that the city has initiated a review that's going to be run through the Planning and Zoning Commission with a targeted review on housing strategies. And that kind of gets back to Sean's questions. It's really going to be looking at what do we need to do to provide more housing, affordable housing, denser housing. And so they really want to take a look at those aspects of those plans. They did have a first work session, we found out, with the Planning and Zoning Commission. There's supposedly going to be a recording of that available on the website for the Planning Commission, but it's not there yet. They are potentially going to give an update at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting this Monday. So I'm planning on attending that and see what they're going to say and do. But we definitely want to be involved. We have an existing West Anchorage district plan, and we want to try to make sure that we find a balance between providing more needed housing versus unanticipated and unnecessary impacts to existing neighborhoods. So we're going to stay on top of that. Kathy mentioned updating the official streets and highways plan. That's another thing that they're starting, and there's something before the Planning and Zoning Commission on Monday. It is only a couple of specific streets, one in Girdwood and one somewhere else, but they intend to take a look, I think, at the whole streets and highways plan. And one of their objectives is to downgrade the classifications. So in many cases, from arterials to collectors. And I think we might look at West Northern Lights as a recommendation that we would want to make, that they should downgrade the classification of that because it is a neighborhood street, and start doing more to limit truck traffic. And so I think as a community council, we have a little bit of time on when they're going to do it in a more detailed fashion, but we'll probably want to look at our streets and look at their classifications, and we may have recommendations for which ones we specifically wish to have downgraded to a lower limit.
And just FYI, GCC is already on record for quite some time as making that request from Wisconsin to Lakewood Drive. It be downgraded to neighborhood collector status. So we're already on record with a resolution and, you know, documentation and comment letters. Now that's been quite some time back, but we're already there, unless we would want to relook at our decision back.
And from what I heard from the planning director and talking with her, it looks like they're going to have a full update sometime this fall. So we want to get out ahead of that and be prepared for those streets we think should be downgraded. So that's streets and highways. There has been a task force which I've been assigned to on looking at what the fallout has been of reducing parking requirements, on-site parking requirements, and what it means for right-of-way maintenance and safety, and also for snow management. And they were moving ahead and having some public meetings and a task force on that, but it's been postponed till there is some more information coming out of the mayor's office on snow management. So that's one I will be a representative on and providing regular updates. Again, the concern is as they increase the density of housing to meet housing demand, if they're not requiring on-site parking, it means they're putting it on the streets. And many of those streets are not safe or suitable for on-site parking, or it may complicate snow removal. So that's something we also want to pay attention to. There's been a couple of zoning cases that we testified on before the assembly. The first one was what they want to do is based on some plan guidance in the 2040 plan, is allow the assembly the Planning and Zoning Commission and or the municipal staff to institute zoning changes to implement the 2040 plan. And these could be fairly large areas that they might rezone, say from industrial to multifamily. It could be areas where it might be a duplex, single family to multifamily. And the problem is they have reduced the public notice requirement. There's no longer a requirement to notify affected property owners for those types of rezonings. There's no longer a requirement for them to post where those rezonings occur. It's either going to be listed in the paper, published, or community councils being notified that it's occurring. And then it becomes perhaps our burden on how to reach out to our members to let them know about what sort of rezoning there was. We did testify, we supported the concept, but expressed concern about the public notice, and the ordinance got passed as is, but in some of their discussion, they're going to try to do a better job of finding a way of notifying people what changes are going to occur. And they also said that they would involve communities and community councils in any large scale rezonings. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on. There was another one that was passed, which most people don't know about, and that is they passed an incentive for a tax abatement for building multifamily housing 8 units or more in what they call in the transit supported development zone. And I would bet you almost no one in this room has seen a map of that transit supported development zone, and you'll be really surprised to see where it is. And that's something I think we want to keep an eye on. I don't think they can build any new multifamily housing in an area that's not zoned for it without a rezoning, but it does provide tax incentives. And so part of what we're trying to do here is just stay on top of what they're doing so we can notify our council and get comments in ahead of time and be asked to come to the table to talk about it.
And just John, step in. I mean, there was an amendment made by one assembly person there at the meeting on April 22nd to have that tax abatement go for 45 years to developers. They'd still have to pay tax on the land, but wouldn't have to pay for 45 years any tax on what is built on that land.
For 20 units or higher, and that failed a
6
6 to 6 vote. Yeah.
And there was a lot of discussion about that. In the end, and then it was amended to 20 years. So they didn't go for 45, but they went for 20. So developers won't have to pay taxes on their development for 20 years. It's a deal. It's
And all this fits into the housing strategy, which I'll kind of come to in just a little bit. There's another one that we were asked to participate in the working group on the site access standards. I participated in that. I think we came up with some good compromises on that. It got passed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I think it's going to the Assembly perhaps on the 20th. And I attended a work session on that this morning. And I think at least our strategy is to be able to be asked to come to the table and present our concerns as compared to finding it out after the fact. So the last thing is the mayor's housing strategy, and both the Assembly, which has come up with a housing strategy, and the mayor have come up with a housing strategy. The mayor's housing strategy wants 10,000 new housing units built in 10 years, which means 1,000 new units every year. And we're nowhere near close to that. While there hasn't been a formal update of that, everything that's being done with these land use changes and changes to the comprehensive plan and the zoning changes and the regulatory changes are to make it easier to build housing. And that in itself is not a bad thing. We really need the housing. The question is just to avoid unintended adverse consequences. There is going to be a work session tomorrow before the Assembly in which they're going to discuss the mayor's housing strategy and the Assembly's housing strategy. And I will try to tie into some of that to listen to it to see what they say. And Kathy, if you're available, you might want to do that.
Do you know what times there? I've got something at 11, but do you know what times?
I'll let you know. I think it's like 11:50 or so. I'll check and see, but I'll let you know.
You may not.
I have something at 1, so I can't attend the whole thing.
Okay.
But and I'll come to Amanda's hand here in a minute. I think that the challenge really is that, trying to find ways and be cooperative as a community council, recognizing we need more housing, we need more affordable housing,
can
we need
copy
more
me with
housing
what
for
you
young people.
sent. Did you send it? Who'd you send yours to?
Sandy, if if you're talking to somebody, you're not muted. So Sandy, you need to mute.
John, the time to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you for
Okay,
that.
so if you follow that website,
Hang on here. Let me see if I can tell Sandy to mute.
when did it just come? Today? Okay.
There could be another.
Okay. Okay. Yesterday's fine.
Sandy, can you mute? Sandy, you're not muted.
Okay.
Andy, you're muted, not muted.
Okay.
Can the admin mute him? And then
I'm trying.
Yep. Anyways, go ahead, Amanda.
okay.
Yeah.
And
All
then
right.
Tom will have some questions, I suspect, too. So go ahead.
Well, you got to think that they're just ticking them off. There's nobody. They're just getting pummeled with stuff like this.
Or maybe he can go to a breakout room. Yeah.
I'm calling him right now to let him know he needs to mute.
Okay. Yeah, because this is such an important topic. For me with two kiddos, that I'm kind of a free range parent. Like I grew up on the hillside and just being able to, feel safe in their area. And I'm wondering what Turnagain Community Council has really presented to the mayor regarding the homeless encampments that have been popping up and what my colleague, Justin at West High mentioned about the people living right there by West Hill. Just what has been the Turnagain Council's official communications with the mayor regarding these settlements that have been showing up with, drug use and just different things. Yeah.
Well, Amanda, I'm going to jump in first. So thank you so much for that. I actually had my dentist call me shortly before this meeting. He lives in Huntington Park, complaining about that triangular island where Northern Lights splits into Northern Lights and Benson there by Lois Drive and the homeless situation there, and is very upset about it. Wanted to know what Turnagain Community Council is doing about it. To be honest, we haven't done anything in any kind of formal capacity. We know there have been complaints when I go to the Federation of Community Council delegate meetings and there's, 20 plus representatives of councils, and they're all complaining about campsites in their area too. It's such a broad, unmanageable situation throughout the city. It's just terrible. And I don't know what the answer is because it's difficult. Whether you have funding or not, that still means, where do you spend it? How do you spend it? What's effective? How do you make it long term? If you move a camp from one park, they'll just go somewhere else. So to be honest, our council hasn't done anything about it in terms of taking a position or passing any kind of resolution.
Okay. Yeah, you just letting us know. Just thinking about what makes a community, all the hard work you're putting in the other committees, with this being such a pressing issue, I wonder if that would be something where there could be a work group on that, and I'm happy as an educator and as, a mom to have a voice on that too. But, I know there's a lot of compassionate people in Turnagain who could approach a work group like that with, that kind of empathy, but still how important it is. Like if they don't hear, if the assembly doesn't hear from the community councils, they don't hear from them. And that goes, it's not on public record that they hear how it's affecting our community.
Yeah, good point. Sandy, go ahead.
One, I apologize. I left myself unmuted, so sorry for that. But a quick comment on that homeless camp. I've talked with police literally as they're just in the neighborhood several times about that homeless camp. And on the one hand, I'm sympathetic to them. On the other hand, when the garbage is spilling out, I find it ever more troubling. But the point that I've been trying to pitch, hoping that it might grab some attention, is this is a time of year when the bears come out of the dens. Okay. I've seen bears in my neighborhood, so I know bears literally cross Northern Lights and Benson on occasion. And we have 2 schools there. And there's lots of kids that walk by that site going to and going home from school. Add a bear into the mix. Okay. A dangerous situation that nobody wants. Nobody wants that. Okay. And the other thing is that bears have very, very long memories. I know a fair bit about them. So the bear won't just come back once. That bear will come back for years on almost the same day. Years. Biologists will verify what I'm saying. So anyway, I think it's a public safety thing with school kids. So that's just another argument that can be raised. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and before I get to Pat and Sean, one other thing that I'll mention, talking to my dentist, he did call the Muni, the homeless coordinator finally got back to his message, and they said they can't do anything about it because that is a DOT road. It's a state road in that area. And so something I hadn't thought about before. And so instead of focusing on at the local level and the Muni and the administration at the local level, I guess the messaging is this is a state road. We should be talking to DOT. So FYI. So Sean, go ahead.
Thank you, Kathy. So I wanted to share, because I have been waiting to talk about this situation, the triangular shaped land with Lois and Benson and Northern Lights. And I have watched that encampment grow over the last 3 or 4 months. And it is outrageous. They're getting wood now from the Safe Light store and building buildings. And you can see the wood on the building that they leave out. I understand they don't want to waste the wood, and maybe someone can take it to a campfire or kind of recycle it or something. But now the homeless people are grabbing that wood and building buildings in that area. The other day I noticed someone left a TV and a basket of something, maybe clothes or something. And it just sat there and sat there and sat there because apparently no one in the homeless encampment wanted it. So now it's literally a piece of garbage sitting on the thing. The other day I'm driving to work. So I drive by this at least twice a day, at least. On the weekends, a lot more. But I drive by the encampment and I see about, this is no joke, at least 15 Muni vehicles. And these are Muni vehicles. And they're cleaning up everything. I honked my horn. I gave them a big thumbs up and said, thank you. And 2 hours later, I drive back by, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. All they did was clean it up. They didn't move anything. They just took the garbage. And I think I'll probably end by agreeing with Amanda and that the Turnagain Community Council needs to take a position and send it to the mayor's office in writing. And what I would like to do is propose or make a motion that the Turnagain Community Council drafts a letter that we can vote on next meeting, expressing our concern about the camps that are popping up in the Turnagain neighborhood.
Can I make a friendly amendment to that? And
Please.
to send it to the state too, since.
Yeah, that should go to DOT Commissioner Anderson.
And to our assembly members.
Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
This is
Oh, I didn't hear who said yes.
I think Amanda raised her hand to say yes.
Yep.
Okay, and can I get your last name, Amanda? Did I ask you before?
Yeah.
I know I.
Hey, Tom,
Sorry.
figure out how to change it on the screen. I'm sorry. THONPSON.
Sorry, I don't look at all the places I should be. So if somebody can just jot that down for me, I would appreciate it. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that the Turnagain Community Council draft a letter for voting for consideration, I'll just say that. Consideration at our June 5th meeting, expressing concern about homeless camps in Turnagain. Is that correct?
This is Pat. I'd like to amend that a letter be written what you all said, but that it be reconfirmed, it be confirmed at the meeting and it get out before the June meeting. We don't want to wait a month before it gets to anyone.
Agreed.
It should go out
Agreed.
sooner.
Agreed.
What? Okay, so your amendment is what, Pat?
That the letter go out within the next week, and we can confirm, what is the word we use? Ratify the letter in June. That we trust you guys.
Wait. So Sean.
That's a proposed amendment.
Yes, so
to
Sean,
the
amend that
motion.
as maker and second, do you accept Pat's amendment to would you say the board should draft the letter? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Somebody
the board
should.
can draft it. I would like to play a role in that, but yes, I'll accept
Board-
Pat's amendment.
ECC board members draft a letter, well, write a letter and it be sent out next week and then ratified at our June 5th meeting. Did I get that amendment correct?
Yes.
Maybe we can make the goal close the business next Friday.
Okay. And did I get and Amanda, you seconded the amendment.
And let me comment, Kathy, that
Yes,
you
go
can,
ahead.
it doesn't have to be just the board. I mean, you can include like Sean or people who, talk to these people and get their input before, as you're writing the letter. And then we'll move on from that.
Do we have the contact
Absolutely.
information for everyone we need so we can work with you next week?
Yeah, who all wants to be part of this letter effort?
I think you have my email, Kathy. I just shared it. Yeah.
So Sean and Amanda, would you like to be part of that effort as well?
Sure, I'll send you direct in the chat my email address.
Okay. And if one of the board members can make sure you've got that down, because I'm not.
Yeah, I'll look for it. And again,
Okay, thank
I
you.
heard us talking about that this would probably go to the mayor. It would go to the DOT commissioner. I would also suggest it goes to our assembly members, and someone suggested it might have been Nick that it should go to Senator Clayman also.
So like
Yeah,
DOT
our
commissioner,
state
mayor,
our state representatives. Yeah,
assembly,
senator and
And I think Mia Costello.
Yeah.
no,
Is that correct? I think so.
Well, she is, she is.
She's a representative.
She's Sand Lake.
Yeah, I
She's
don't
Sand
think
Lake.
so.
Okay.
Carolyn Hall is the representative.
Carolyn
for our-
Hall is ours.
Yes, Carolyn Hall. Yep.
Understood.
Would it be, well, that's right at the border. So would it be Carolyn or would it be somebody?
I think it might be Zach Fields, but I'm not sure without looking at a map.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up, Dan. Yeah, that actually is in, actually this is
Right.
in Spenard. Believe it or not, this is in Spenard.
It's on the bound.
It's on the, it's
No, it's in Turnagain.
We should include them all.
West
Agreed.
Northern Lights between
affects them too.
Minnesota and Northern Lights to Fish Creek is the northern boundary of our council.
No, it's
I mean,
southern
excuse me,
boundary.
anyway, that's our boundary is the road.
So it goes,
So south of Northern Lights is technically, until you get to Fish Creek to the west, it's in Spenard. That doesn't mean anything. We all,
just send it. Don't worry about who's.
I'm just saying,
It is.
doesn't matter.
I
to
think
me, but-
we're at 9 o'clock.
Hey, can I have a motion to extend for 5 minutes?
Move to extend for 5 minutes.
Okay, Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second. Dan
Dan?
Gleason. Yeah.
Okay, is there any objection to extending to 9:05? Okay, good enough. So I guess at this point, I just want to make sure we've got everybody who wants to be part of this effort. And John, you're tracking email addresses and
Yeah, I
such.
have,
So
I
I've
have,
got
I have
Sean.
Amanda@thompson@gmail.com, and you have
So,
Sean.
well, don't give the email to me yet, but
Yeah, I won't. So I have
so
Amanda's written.
Sean William, and Amanda and
Thompson.
sorry, who else? What? Thompson.
Yep.
And who else would like to be part of this? And I assume we'll just include the TCC board and then whatever TCC board members. We won't, they can decide. We can decide on that later. Is there anybody else who isn't a board member and who hasn't spoken up? Sandy, do you want to be part of that effort?
He's gone.
Yep, sure. Just took me a minute to unmute. Sure, I could look at a letter, offer some thoughts.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, then we need to approve Pat's amendment.
Has one question.
Is there any objection to Pat's amendment about the letter going out by next Friday and ratified at our June meeting?
I want to clarify, next Friday is tomorrow, the week after Friday.
Whatever that date is. I don't have a calendar.
May 9th.
Yep, Friday
May 9th.
next week. Yep.
May 9th. Okay, thank you, Dan. So is there any objection to Pat's amendment? If not, that's approved. So then we do have to vote on the main motion as amended. Is there any objection to the main motion, and do you want me to restate it?
No, I think people are familiar with it.
Okay.
Question before we vote.
Yes, Dan.
Has any other community councils written letters of concern or objections that you know about? And could we use one of their letters as a go-by?
Well, that's an excellent question. I have no specific ideas. I know other councils have definitely contacted, probably written, maybe passed resolutions on the same complaints within their neighborhoods, but I'm not aware. I can contact the staff at FCC and they would know.
Kathy, I just wanted to offer that I can draft a letter probably tonight and send it to you via email, and you guys can go through it and make changes and stuff. But I can make it one page and have it tonight.
Well, okay. Oh, and just FYI, if everybody can please include my personal email as well as TCC president, because I'm having issues now. So anything that you send, please include Kathy.Gleason, tcc@yahoo.com. And if somebody wants to put that in the chat, I'd appreciate it. Well, that's a generous offer. I can't guarantee you I'll read it yet tonight, but
I literally do this all day long for work. Is write letters for other people. I can do this.
That'll give us a great jumping point, and then we can circulate it to Amanda, board members, and Sandy, and if anybody else wanted to be on that list, last call, and then go from there. So Pat, did you want to be on the list?
No, I'll let you guys handle it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for your offer, Sean. So now we're voting on the main motion as amended. So is there any objection? If not, that has passed and we will move forward thanks to Sean and then the rest who will take a look at this, and it will get signed and then we'll ratify it in June.
Hi, Kathy. I thought I saw a hand up. I don't know if that person
sorry.
wanted
Yeah,
to note
sorry,
an objection.
I was trying to jump in. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I just,
Lynn, please.
yeah, hi. I object with moving so quickly on this matter, given it's not an item that was even on the agenda. So to move forward at this point without even, ratifying post, I just disagree with that procedurally. But I know I'm in a minority. I did want to just pose my objection to that.
I understand, Lynn, and I really appreciate you bringing that up because it's not something that we would typically do and normally would want to notice it. So let's go ahead and take a vote instead of asking for a no objection. So all in favor of the motion as amended, please raise your hand. And I'll raise mine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. Anybody else? I've got 8 yes, and
Sorry,
everybody.
a little slow there, but I have mine raised too.
Oh, okay. So 9. And then though anybody opposed and everybody that said yes, please remove your hand. So I have 1. So it passes, but Lynn, I appreciate what you said.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, and
it's
thanks for
not,
turning it to a vote.
You're absolutely right. In terms of process that it's, especially at, 9 o'clock at night or 9:05. And so now we have hit the witching hour of, actually it's 9:07. So unless there's another motion to extend, then we will close out this meeting for this evening. Thank you all so much for attending and your input. We really, really appreciate it. And stay in touch. And it looks like we've got part of our June 5th meeting agenda already started. So, so thank you again. Good night. And hopefully it won't rain over the weekend. So enjoy.
Great meeting, guys. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you.